Yeah.
70% of our customers, they already have an operation in India. I mean, all large Indian companies are in Mexico. And because, for example, for enterprise software, it means business critical application, right? So they cannot wait. And maybe, I mean, the system is going to work, but in business critical, you might need to invoice right away. Something gets stuck. You have a truck that you're waiting for inventory or additional things. So it's business critical, right?
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Jacobo from Everscale. And today we will take the time to dive a bit into his story, and what it is his company does, and then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Jacobo, welcome. Thanks for hopping on today.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you for inviting us. I mean, it's great.
Lovely. Jacobo, if you don't mind, if we can kick things off by you introducing yourself and, just tell us a bit around your background, man, and a couple of snippets of your story.
Yeah, I mean, for the past 20 years, I have been in the tech industry. The first 20, I was the CEO of IT consulting firm, then a system integrator, and implemented enterprise software in Mexico, South America, and then in the US, right? And
Excellent.
so, I mean, that's my background. And at the first 20 years, then the past five, I have been the CEO of Everscale. And Everscale it's a company that is part of a larger group, which is the leader and the largest as well in the shelter industry, and meaning that we help foreign companies move into our region, and in this case to Mexico. And our company is headquartered in Tucson, Arizona, and that's what we have been doing for the last years.
Got it. Tell me, what was it like, you know, um, what got you into this specific business sector, that, like, you know, as they say, that sparked that interest, um, that made you so passionate about what you're doing? How did you go about, how did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, being the CEO of the previous company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we were implementing SAP, Microsoft, CRM, these digital transformation projects, right? And we were approached at that time by a private equity firm, then other large tech companies from Europe and India as well. And all of them, they wanted to have an operation in Mexico because we had a nearshore center there, right? And so they wanted to acquire us. And so we went through different M&A processes. And I'm thinking, hey, I can only sell the company once, right? So I'm
Right.
thinking, I mean, this is huge, right? And
Yeah.
so I got to know in an embassy thing in Chicago. I mean, that helping foreign companies moving to Mexico was a big thing in the manufacturing, and it has been for the past 40 years, right? So I got in conversation with the largest group of this type. They were thinking in branching off into tech. They are already moving to financial and professional services and many other industries successfully, and now they wanted to do in tech. So that's why it was a no-brainer for me and to become
Mm.
the CEO of the Everscale. And we have been working with system integrators, software companies, small startups out of San Francisco, but also with public companies headquartered in Chicago and Seattle, and also with companies from England, from India, and it has been great.
I mean, you guys are like really based all over, right? I can think, I now understand why you're so busy. The Having said that, Jacobo, based on your expertise, what's are like the current market trends specifically towards your industry, right? That you are aware of, from a trend perspective. What ways are the winds blowing these days? What have you been picking up?
Yeah, I mean, in the IT industry, I mean, it always revolves around talent, right? I mean, because maybe
Sure.
you had the cloud computing years
Mhm.
ago. Everybody needed architects in AWS, Google Cloud, you name it, right? Then machine learning. Now everything is AI, right? So from data scientists and all these engineers. So after the pandemic, a lot of companies in tech, they know that the key is talent, right? So in North America, you hire people not just in the US but also in Canada and Mexico.
Mm.
And the problem that we solve is helping them how to open the operation in Mexico, and it's going to be theirs, right? So we're helping them. I mean, in how to do it and avoid setup costs. I mean, lower their operating expenses and
Yep.
shelter them from risk, right? And as a trend, I mean, early last year in the Wall Street Journal, I mean, it was like a big article, right? Private investors are using nearshoring, are using Mexico and all industries, right?
Yep.
And so that's a big trend. We're working now more than ever with private equity firms because they obviously they go for cost efficiency and they go for accessing new markets to
Yep.
increase their value creation, right? So but the thing is that they don't like risk. So with us, they can lower the risk, but also being cost efficient, right? So I think
Mhm.
that's a big trend. And in any company, for example, last week, Thomas Bravo, big private equity firm, they were telling their portfolio companies that, hey, you should go after Latin America. It's easier to expand there, and you should be using a soft landing option. I mean, so that's the trend, and we expect that this is going to continue.
That's fascinating. It's quite interesting. So there's clearly a couple of changes happening, from a trend perspective as opposed to a year or two ago, right? Like you just mentioned now. The Tell me, and what's your take on the current market sentiment? Is there good appetite?
Right now, we have a happy problem. And the happy problem is that
Yeah.
everybody needs to have a nearshore operation, right? And
Yep.
so there's a high demand, but there are also other vendors from other countries that maybe they had customers in the past and they were supporting them in the Philippines and India and I mean countries with a really great location. And but now their customers are asking for Mexico and they're saying, "Hey, I can help you into Mexico." But the thing is that they don't know the country, and so there are
Yep.
already some failures, and it's making additional noise because some companies are thinking that, hey, maybe it's not as easy to go into Mexico because of
Yes.
these failures. But I mean, it was because these newcomers they didn't know about it, right? So
Mm.
there's like maybe not like the gold rush, but everybody's
Yep.
trying to do something in Mexico, whatever it means, right? The thing is that with newcomers, they're going to be learning with you, right? And that's not the best idea.
Yep. The I think this might be a good time, Jacobo, if you don't mind, just to elaborate a bit and just explain what is it specifically what your company does.
Yeah, with us, I mean, as I mentioned, we work with tech companies, right? And usually, tech company they know that they're going to need a big budget to go to any foreign country, right?
Yep.
And but they're always thinking that, hey, if this is the right time, and maybe when they go to the countries, it was late, but also they might go on their own, and they're going to, I mean, overrun their budget really fast because they're not going to know. I mean, there are certain laws against
Yep.
contractors, other laws against taxes, price transfer, that type of thing.
Good
So
point.
what we do is we decrease substantially the setup cost, and but also we help them. I mean, decrease the operating expenses from 40 to 60% in the first 3 to 4 years. So that's a big savings for them.
Wow.
And
Wow.
but yeah, but also it's the time to value.
Mm.
And so sometimes they want to go after a certain big opportunity and they don't know that in Mexico it might take 3, 4 months to get their entity. Then they start hiring. but they need to win the opportunity for them, right? They might have a global customer, and this global customer is telling them, hey, I need you in Latin America, right? And it's going to take them a long time to go there. So what we help them is time to market. Like I mentioned, it's helping them start operating right away. Is their operation, and also they avoid the risk that they had in the past. In fact, the first customers that we had were system integrators, which in the past they were hiring or subcontracting other tech companies, which
Yeah.
meant that they might be training future competitors, right? And they don't like that because they're opening their customers to a potential competitor. And with us, is we're just helping them scale the right way. Is their operation from day one, and
Yeah.
we're helping them do it the right way. So we're saving them a lot of budget, but also, I mean, helping them in control the multiple moving parts that is geographical expansion, right? So we add certainty to that.
The I'm curious. I had a business founder on the other day that is specifically, obviously, in nearshoring, into that industry as well. And just your take on, because I know there's a lot of nearshoring that takes place from, like, we had in India, and
Mhm.
obviously there's a lot of nearshoring in Mexico, right? What is your take on, you know, Mexico versus India?
Oh yeah, and I mean the fun fact:
Yeah,
70% of our customers they already have an operation in India, right? And
that's interesting, man. Wow,
yeah, and the thing
that's
is that I mean all large Indian companies are in Mexico, and because for example, for enterprise software, I mean, it means business critical application, right? So they cannot wait. And maybe, I mean, the system is going to work, but in business critical, you might need to invoice right away. Something gets stuck. You need to, I mean, you have a truck in the that you're waiting for inventory or additional things. So it's business critical, right? So you need people to be right on there, and maybe you want them to fly right that precise moment, right? You want them to be in 2 to 3 hours. So that's why I mean large Indian companies they must have nearshore operation, not just
mm,
offshore, right? And also uh, with the pandemic as well. I mean a lot of companies experimented with global hiring,
yeah,
but they know that what is best is the middle, right? That they can be at the office with the customer if you need it, not somewhere really far that takes 12, 14 hours to get there, right? So that's why it's nearshore versus offshore. Obviously, the two of them are cost efficient, but
yeah,
one is the proximity, and in business critical applications, I mean, you need cultural affinity and you need additional things because, I mean, it's time is essence, right? And
yeah.
with software companies have agile methodologies and other methodologies that need real time collaboration. So you need people that are like 1 hour, 2 hour flight there, right? So with
Okay.
our customers, they might have a headquarters in Chicago, so flying their
Mm,
engineers from Dallas to Chicago or Monterrey to Chicago is the same, right? So that might be the difference, and
the
it's like
difference.
yeah, and it's not that one is better than the other. They
Yeah,
might be complementary,
yeah.
but you need to have a neutral operation for enterprise software. That's common.
That's very interesting. The you actually touched on private equities earlier. From, like you mentioned, they are. I'm sure you guys have got different, like, soft landing options also when it comes to these equities, right? What's like, what kind of options do they usually look at, or do they go for, or that you offer, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can think of two examples.
Yeah.
For example, one is that, and we having conversation with a private equity firm, and they're telling us that, hey, our companies are not as big. They are not in the stock market, and also we want to test first and see if it's the right approach in Mexico,
A,
right?
a good
And they
fit.
want
Yeah.
to start with 5 people, most of them like senior data scientists, maybe working from home, maybe with a shared workspace, right? and they
Mm.
want to take it easy, right? So we have customers like that they started small with data engineers, and then they added like a business analyst, then marketing managers for search engine optimization, other things, right? So that's one way to do it. I mean, to start small. Sometimes this soft landing option is called like a pilot operation or managed team.
Yeah.
But also, there are the largest private equity firms, and they have large companies, and they're telling us, hey, we want to build a center of excellence in Guadalajara or Mexico City. And it means that maybe hiring right away 100 people. So we help them in selecting the location, getting the right structure, and
Right.
the right mix, engineers, maybe recent grad. We do a boot camp and helping them scale, right? And maybe they start with 100, move to 200,
Mm.
and we help them recruiting, screening, facilities management, obviously tax accounting, and many more things, right? And
Mm.
one difference that you're going to see today in soft landing is that in
Yeah.
the past in India it was known as the build, operate, and transfer.
Yeah.
Now this has switched to as a service model, meaning that you don't need to sign an initial contract that you're going to hire, I don't know, 100 people for a center of excellence for 3 years. Now you can start and pay per use, right, as a service model, right? So you might start
Okay.
with 60, and maybe you wait 2 years to get to 80. So you're
Yeah.
going to be scaling as you seem fit, and not because
Mm.
you have a contract that demands to hire more people, and maybe you're not ready in that way, right? But now
Yeah.
you're seeing the as a service model in every industry, and our industry is not the exception.
Very interesting. So, like you mentioned, so there's more verticals lately from a landing point of view, whereas if I understand correctly, that's more custom and more fits to how the company is growing,
Yeah,
to if it makes sense.
yeah, and I mean, this model obviously is helping them avoid unnecessary expenses, and
Operational
also,
cost. Yeah.
yeah, and this way they can, scale as they see fit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we add certain flexibility because, for example, system integrators sometimes they're more project based, so that's why they need more flexibility than other models
Mm.
that
Mm.
it's not for that.
The Yeah, man, I actually fully understand now. Jacobo, tell me when there's a lot of things you mentioned here today that I can actually see the value that you guys as a business, what you obviously bring to the table. But I'm just curious to get your take out of your own words. What would your opinion be on, what would the most significant value be that you think that your business brings to other businesses?
I mean, at first, we were thinking it's everything is about money, right? We're seeing these comparisons that we're helping them save uh, 80% in the first year and 60% in the second year. So we're saying, hey, we this is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
the how much we can help them save in everything, administrative expenses, operational setup, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
now what we're seeing as the most value is that we're helping them avoid the long learning curve, and that might be worth more than that because, for example,
Yeah.
software companies they want to go after a certain market,
Mm.
and they might be looking for resellers, or they
Yeah.
might want to get their first wins. And with us, we help them to save time because we're telling them, hey, you shouldn't be contacting these resellers. This is the best reseller for your particular niche, and
Niche.
we can do the introduction, right? And also, hey, you shouldn't be targeting these prospects because we know that they are only going to be asking for a proof of concept. You're going to send all the documentation and they're going to do it on their own, right? And you're going to be wasting your time. We know
Yeah.
that, we know the market. So we're telling them, hey, how to move faster and how to avoid those, I mean, that problem that is going to, uh, they might be thinking that Mexico is not the right option, but the problem is that it's just the regular learning curve. So we're taking the learning curve out of the formula.
Got it. Tell me, in your opinion, what type of mindset would you say, is needed to be a successful CEO of a business, that leadership? What mindset would you say, is needed for that?
I mean, it's maybe a couple of things, and obviously, you want to be comfortable in having a lot of things going at the same time, right? It's obviously you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to have that type of productivity, and to understand that every day there's going to be something that's going to come up. And in particular with Everscale, we're helping them with all the small fires that the regular operation is going to happen. So you have to be comfortable with that, right?
With
And
that.
also how to prevent those type of fires, right? And the other thing is, and something that I like with Everscale, is that we get to speak with people from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And we're in the people business. I
Mm.
mean, we're in tech, so that doesn't mean that we have a big machinery and doing uh, production materials, that type of stuff. We're people, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. It's people, and it has been really great. I mean, talking with and getting to know more people in India, in Europe, and South America. We have customers from South America as well, and obviously in North America where we are.
That is, you guys have today. There's so much value that your company brings, and from straight through. And I think there's a lot of things that everybody's learned here today. From a just from saving that operational costs to clients, providing that better ROI as well. I can fully understand, Jacobo, why it is that you and your team are doing so well, and why you guys are just properly scaling yourselves, right? So I need to thank you for coming on today. This has been productive, and some good insights. So thank you very much appreciated.
No, no, thank you, Craig, again for the invitation, and yeah, a couple of questions got me thinking, so I might be thinking about those questions all day.
Of course. If you don't mind, just before I let you go, tell me, if you don't just notice, where can the listeners get hold of you guys?
They can go to our website. It's everscalegroup.com.
Okay.
And we also have a LinkedIn company page. They can see some content there. Uh, you can, I mean, it's Everscale Group too, right, in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we have some articles on moving into Mexico, soft landing, and that type of thing.
Excellent. Thanks for your time. All the best. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.